For 72 years, it has been the home of hockey's most storied franchise. Within its walls, the game's greatest have performed. Its mere name sends shivers to the hearts of hockey's faithful. The Montreal Forum, hockey's home address, the game's most famous shrine, closes its doors for the final time tonight. This place, home to the team that has won 24 Stanley Cups, home of all-stars, home of legends, has truly seen it all. Tonight, as a chapter of NHL history comes to a close, we'll pay tribute to this place and the people who have performed here. TSN proudly bids adieu to the Montreal Forum. The clock is ticking on the Montreal Forum. Tonight, the Canadiens entertain the Dallas Stars, and then the change of address card goes out because hockey's shrine will be dark after tonight. On the ice, today's captain, Pierre Turgeon, carries the mantle of hockey's most storied franchise. And playing for the Dallas Stars, the man who was once the captain, Guy Carbonneau, makes his first appearance at the Montreal Forum since being traded by Montreal. And for those from this area, tonight, a special night, as it is for all of us, as the Canadiens close out the Forum. Hi, everybody. Welcome to NHL Game Night on this very special night in hockey. I'm Gord Miller, along with Bob McKenzie. We are here tonight to bid adieu to hockey's most famous address. It is at the corner of St. Catherine and Atwater that you will find the Montreal Forum, where tonight you'll find much of the hockey world watching. As it should be. When the puck drops at 7:30 Eastern Time, the game at Montreal will be the only NHL game being played. An hour later, Florida will play Chicago. As I mentioned, Bob McKenzie is with me. Bob, there's obviously so much to talk about tonight. There's just such a feeling here of electricity in this city. I don't know if you can describe it like the 7th game of the Stanley Cup Final. I'm not sure what the atmosphere can be linked to, but it feels as if every eye in the city is on this place tonight.
Well, the atmosphere has been electric all day around here. Up until about a half hour ago, there was a sea of humanity right out in front of the Montreal Forum. People were lined up for hours to get into their standing room seats. There's a very strong police presence here as well. Lots of mounted police. The entire Forum ringed with riot-equipped Montreal police. Also, looking at that, they hope there's not going to be any trouble tonight. They don't expect that there's going to be any trouble, but they are ready for it. Had an opportunity to go up and have the Last Supper up at the press room, and that is no better place to go up and swap some lies in hockey than in the press room of the Montreal Forum. And we do have some good trade rumors over the course of the night, some of them involving the Montreal Canadiens. But Gord, you said it, the atmosphere is electric. It's just a great night to be in hockey and a great night to be here.
Oh, and Bob, you failed to mention that we paid homage to another Montreal landmark today, lunch at the Barbie Barn. You have to go to the Barbie Barn when you come to the Montreal Forum. We're saddened tonight that some voices like those of Danny Gallivan and René Lecavalier and Claude Mouton won't be heard, but we will hear from Roger Doucette in the national anthem. That should be a great moment. To talk more about the game we'll hear tonight, here are Paul Romanuk and Gary Green, guys.
I'll tell you what, really looking forward to tonight. It is an absolute honor, speaking from where I sit, to sit right here in this booth and be part of this night when you think of the great voices that have sat right here and broadcast hockey games. I'll tell you what, it's going to be an entertaining game, but let's reminisce a little bit right here. You've experienced this building from a bunch of different levels, as a broadcaster, as a fan, as a coach, I mean, all over the place. Anything that kind of stands out? What's Gary Green's Forum story?
Well, I'll tell you what, being a coach and a broadcaster for 16 years, coming into this building probably half a dozen times a year, there's a lot of fond hockey games, fond memories of hockey games here. One of my great memories, though, was as a fan, Paul, coming in here on New Year's Eve, 1975, to watch a great international hockey game. And I'd gotten a telegram from a friend that I had spent time with in the summer, the national coach, Boris Kalagin from the Russian national team, sent me a telegram, said, "Meet me New Year's Eve, Montreal." I didn't know what that meant, but I showed up and he had a couple of tickets for me. It was a most memorable night. As far as when it came to coaching, Paul, I don't know an awful lot of visiting coaches that ever had great experiences here in this building. It was a very difficult one to coach in, very difficult teams to coach against. I can remember too many times having defensemen out in the ice when seeing Guy Lafleur and Steve Schutt and many others of the Flying Frenchmen go wheeling by and putting the puck in the net.
All right, maybe a little bit later on you can tell me about the New Year's Eve you spent with Boris Gulagan. Not to stereotype, but I bet it was a rad one. A bit of vodka involved, perhaps. It'll be a celebration tonight in a lot of ways. Let's get back to Gordon Bob.
All right, thanks very much. You know, when you look behind you and you see escalators like cross hockey sticks, you know you're at the Montreal Forum. Tonight, a special post-game ceremony. The Montreal Forum will close out after the game. There's a bit of closure here. We mentioned that Guy Carbonneau is back for the first time since he was traded. For the first time since he was fired as the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, Serge Savard will come back to the Montreal Forum tonight. 33 years as an employee of the Montreal Canadiens, as a player and as a member of management. He told friends this week that he had mixed emotions about coming back, but obviously the feelings about this place and this team run deep for all involved.
Well, don't think that there's not a lot of trepidation involved. It was obviously a bitter departure for Serge Savard when he left at the beginning of this hockey season, but you know, the great history that the Montreal Canadiens have had, they haven't always been one happy family throughout it. There have been celebrated blowups with Guy Lafleur, Rocket Richard, and many, many more. Yet when it always comes down to the crunch, when the game is the thing, or in this case, when the arena is the thing, then everybody comes back and pays tribute because it's for the people, for the fans, and for the, not necessarily always for the organization, but just for the honor of the name the Montreal Canadiens.
And it's interesting to point out, too, that most of the people who have tickets for tonight are already in the building. It's a very special night here at the Montreal Forum. There have been so many, we could be here for hours talking about them, but throughout this broadcast, we're going to look back at the special moments in the history of the Montreal Forum. In fact, when we come back, we will look at the history of this place, but let's look back at a special moment now. And on the right, Dick Irvin Sr., the coach of the Canadiens, who decided it would be a good idea to put together a line of Elmer Locke, Maurice Richard, and Toe Blake. It became known as the punch line. Perhaps hockey's greatest line, you could argue that. Tonight, we pay tribute to the Montreal Forum, but more importantly, we pay tribute to those who played here. NHL Game Night returns in a moment.
Being oneself, styled expressionist, punctuating the ordinary, searching innermost pockets for your ID, detecting the truthfulness necessary to unapologetically say, this is the way I am.
Powered by partnership, driven by performance. The same motto that propels this rowing team to the top is the guiding principle at Dynamic Mutual Funds. Along with your independent financial advisor, you have a dynamic team of dedicated managers, partners, pulling together to achieve the only financial goals that really matter, yours. Dynamic Mutual Funds, your partner for dynamic performance.
Excuse me, what do you think about the shape of Kellogg's Rice Krispies?
I don't know, it looks oval.
Let me put this grain of rice next to it. Notice anything?
No.
You may have noticed that they're both shaped like rice, because each Kellogg's Rice Krispies is made with a real grain of wholesome rice.
Rice Krispies is made with rice?
The heck did you think it was made with?
What the heck did you think it was made with?
Don't get me wrong. When I'm banging them inside, lighting them up outside, hitting from the corner, at the line, above the rim, and down the hole. I'm not hot dogging. I'm just marking my territory. This is my plan.
The Forum Farewell is brought to you by Dynamic Mutual Funds, your partner for dynamic performance. And by Molson Canadian.
Welcome back to the Montreal Forum. When you talk about this place, you of course talk about the great hockey players. That's the first thing that comes to mind, but there's so much more. Think of John Philip Sousa, Pavarotti, Sinatra, Madonna, John Paul, George, and Ringo. Yes, the Beatles began a North American tour here. Great boxers like Archie Moore and Rocky Graziano at the Olympics, Sugar Ray Leonard, and of course, Nadia Comaneci. If you thought the Forum was for men only, think of Amy Semple McPherson, the fiery American evangelist who spoke here in 1931. And think of the Yvette's Rally in 1980 when the PQ accused English women of being anti-separation. 15,000 of them came here to a rally that many think turned that referendum campaign in 1980 around. This is a special place. It's a lot more than hockey. A look back now at the history of the Montreal Forum.
My parents used to take me to the game, Montreal Canadian game, sitting on a wooded bench.
What this building has provided me with, and a whole lot of other people, are memories.
The Montreal Forum is very special to everybody growing up in Montreal, and I used to watch the Canadians when I was younger and was fortunate enough to go see them in that building.
When you come into this building, you come into this dressing room, or you come on the team, that's the first thing that you realize is you're part of a team. When you're a Montreal Canadian, you're a Montreal Canadian for life.
All those who were looking at us there from almost the ceiling, well, they were the one who built it for us. And I said, now it's my turn.
It wasn't always the home ice of the Montreal Canadiens. The Forum was originally conceived in 1924 by the Canadian Arena Company to house English Montreal's expansion NHL team, the Maroons. The 9,300-seat building cost $1.5 million and was called the Forum because it was built on the site of a roller skating facility called the Forum Rink. Construction was completed in 159 days, and the Forum stood majestically with its peaked stone facade and huge glass windows. The first game was played November 29, 1924. Because the Maroons were on the road and the Mount Royal Arena where the Habs played was having artificial ice installed, the Canadiens opened the Forum with a game against the Toronto St. Patrick's. Billy Boucher scored 3 times, and Howie Morenz and Aurel Joliet each had 2 in the Canadiens' 7-1 win. They moved permanently to the corner of St. Catherine and Atwater in 1926. In 1938, the Maroons folded after winning 2 cups of their own at the Forum. The Canadiens' first true superstar was Howie Morenz. In 1937, at the age of 34, he suffered a broken leg during a home game against Chicago. A month later, he died of a heart attack. 3 days later, a memorial service was held at the Forum. A number 7 adorned the casket. 15,000 people sat in silence, and 10,000 more gathered outside.
The coffin was exposed there for a couple of days, a day and a half or 2. I remember when they took the coffin out, you know, because I was there, you know. It was a terrific ceremony, which is the first time it happened at the Forum, and it's the last time, too.
In 1949, blue seats were added above the reds and whites, increasing the Forum's capacity to 13,551. Attendance had been a problem in the past for the Canadiens, but not anymore. The fans filled the arena to watch Maurice Richard.
The Rocket was the hard skater, you know, the fella that would go through a brick wall. We'd stand up automatically.
I never thought I was going to play professional because I had 2 years in amateur. I had two major injuries, and after that, my first year with Canadian, I was lucky to sign a contract and never thought I was going to make the team.
I followed Maurice quite a bit, and I was the guy that I wanted to be.
If you looked at him, you could just see that CH, you know, on his chest. If you looked at his eyes when he was coming in from the blue line on an opposing goaler, you knew that something exciting was going to happen.
The Rocket was also central to one of the most shameful nights in Forum history, the Richard Riot. After the Rocket struck linesman Cliff Thompson during a fight in Boston, NHL President Clarence Campbell suspended the Rocket for the final 3 games of the regular season and all the playoffs. The following day, St. Patrick's Day, the Canadiens played Detroit. The mood outside the Forum was one of anger, and Clarence Campbell, along with the Rocket, went to the game. Campbell took his usual seat, Section 118, B20.
Directors of the Forum asked Campbell not to come, and he insisted coming. And we felt it, you know, we felt it when we were sitting down.
Every day you come to see the game. After a period, you go in the room. that day, you stay in the seats, just to provoke the people.
A fan walks up the steps toward President Campbell, who was sitting about 10 rows above the ice, and stuck his hand out as if to shake hands with the president. When Campbell put his hand out, he was slapped by the fan, and then, of course, all heck broke loose.
On the corner of St. Catherine's and Atwater, you had a whale bank. And all of a sudden, the video announcer said, here's a brick was been thrown. There was large window just went down. And, you know, there's probably hundreds and maybe thousands of people who were listening to that at home who got dressed and came to the Forum.
With their arena in tatters and without the Rocket, the Canadians made it to the final but lost to the Red Wings in 7 games. Maurice Richard played 5 more seasons in the NHL, and he never lost the Stanley Cup again. Maurice Richard, one of the many Canadiens greats who will be here tonight, and perhaps the man who, more than anyone, epitomizes Montreal Canadiens hockey.
Well, he certainly does for me, and that's kind of odd because I grew up in the 1960s and 70s, and the Canadiens that I followed at the time were Jean Beliveau, Henri Richard, Guy Lafleur. Yet whenever I think of the Montreal Forum, whenever I think of Montreal Canadian hockey, I remember the black and white pictures of Maurice Richard, the eyes lit up, shaking hands with Sugar Jim Henry after a game, just swooping into the net, coming in on his off wing. And that for me is the Montreal Canadiens. That for me is the Montreal Forum. I always think of the greatest hockey players of all time, call them Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, and Wayne Gretzky are the 3 guys that I believe are head and shoulders above everybody else. But there's a special place there for a guy like Rocket Richard because he really typified the way the game of hockey is played in Canada.
Strangely enough for me, Bob, my memory of the Montreal Forum is a living room in Sundre, Alberta, which sounds strange. My grandfather grew up not far from here, and every weekend came to Montreal Canadiens games, and the one thing he told me was, if you go to the Forum, always wear a suit and tie. We talked about people who hold this place near and dear. No one held it more closely than my grandfather, and it certainly is with a great deal of pride that I'm here tonight in a suit and tie, as you should be when you come to the Montreal Forum. We're looking back at great moments in the history of the Montreal Canadiens. Think back to the early 1970s, Guy Lafleur with the Quebec Remparts, and maybe a bit of Canadian chicanery. Sam Pollock got Oakland's first pick in the draft. It looked like L.A. might actually finish last, so the Canadians gave Ralph Backstrom to L.A. and selected Guy Lafleur with Oakland's pick. Yes, the Seals did finish last, and the rest is history. NHL Game Night returns to the farewell of the Forum in just a moment.
See the bear, taste the food. See the bear, taste the food. The Matzo Burger, a specially seasoned patty covered with real mozzarella and crisp, smoky bacon. See the bear.
Here's to McCain from the tiny and the small. For McCain Jr. Juice is the best taste of all. McCain Jr. Juice from Superb Concentrate is just enough juice and deliciously great. So let's have a junior and drink from the box. Uh-oh, time to split. Here comes the fox.
McCain Jr. Juice, the just enough size.
In a rink somewhere plays the future of hockey. Like the great ones before him, time hones his skills, his precision, his determination, his name. Until then, his mark is here.
The Stars' first-round pick, Jamie Wright, leads his Guelph Storm into Barrie to take on the Colts.
Major Junior Hockey. TSN.
Get revved with the explosive action of the Players IndyCar World Series. This time around, the challenge lies at Brazil's Nelson Piquet International Raceway in the Rio 400. The Players IndyCar World Series. Headed your way Sunday on TSN. Go deep.
Live from the Forum in Montreal, TSN's NHL Game Night presents the Forum finale. Hi everybody, welcome back. A moment ago we showed you the early days of the Montreal Forum. In latter years, the great Montreal Canadiens shared the stage with Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, and Pink Floyd. Things changed, and so did the Montreal Canadiens, except for one thing. They continued to win. We continue our look back at the Forum with the modern era of hockey's shrine. Hockey wasn't the only entertainment at the Forum. It was where the Beatles made their North American debut in 1964. In fact, the list of Forum events is virtually endless. But hockey was and is the Forum's lifeblood. The corner of Atwater and St. Catherine was busy on most weekends between November and April in the 50s. In fact, on most weekends, 40,000 spectators passed through the Forum turnstiles.
I'll come here with my two brothers every Sunday to see the Royals in the old Quebec Senior League. And in those years, you had sellout crowd for the Canadians, sellout crowd for the Royal on Sunday afternoon. And on Sunday night, you had the two junior games.
The Canadiens won another 5 Stanley Cups in the 1960s, led by Jean Beliveau and Henri Richard. And after sweeping St. Louis for the Stanley Cup in 1968, construction began immediately as the Forum was completely renovated at a cost of $10 million. A new Forum icon was the escalator shaped as crossed hockey sticks, which greeted visitors from St. Catherine Street. 1,700 standing room tickets were made available for each game. Ushers opened the doors an hour and a half before game time, and the standing room rush developed into an exciting event which lives to this day, the victors securing excellent sight lines. The 70s gave birth to another Hab dynasty. The torch had been passed from Beliveau to Guy Lafleur. The Canadiens won 6 Stanley Cups, including 4 in a row, beginning with the 1975-1976 season. In the 1979 playoffs, the Forum Ghosts went to work. Game 7 of the semifinals. Boston led 4-3 with just over 2 minutes remaining when Don Cherry's Bruins drew a penalty for having too many men on the ice.
With a minute to go, a minute and a few seconds, Guy Lafleur just a few feet inside the blue line. A hell of a shot, you know, the inside post, and 4-4.
Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
Me, I was playing with Doug Riseborough and Mario Tremblay, then we played 7 years together. And we always had success against the Bruins. And Mario says, Yvon, I think our line has a chance to score the goal, and I think we're going to do it.
The Canadiens won in overtime and went on to take their 4th consecutive Stanley Cup. The Forum was also home to classic international confrontations. 1972, Game 1 of the Summit Series between Canada and the then-obscure Soviets.
6 minutes into the game, Team Canada is winning 2-0. We're all sitting back saying, well, it's like we said, 8 in a row. And then suddenly a guy named Karlamov came to play, a guy named Maltsev, somebody named Yakushev, another one named Mikhailov, and of course the big guy in the net's Tretiak. Final score, Soviet 7, Team Canada 3. What a letdown. But it was so exciting, so emotional.
What many have called the greatest hockey game ever played took place at the Forum on New Year's Eve, 1975.
Number 17, Valery Karlamov.
10 days or 2 weeks before New Year's Eve, people, they weren't talking about, you know, we're going to play against the Bruins or we're going to play against Philly. People, that they were saying, are you ready to play the Red Army?
Coming down to the Canadian side. He's hit over the line. Karlamov he scores! Beautiful setup. He has it. He's centered it right in front. Here's the man shooting it. And a tremendous save. Another save by Tretiak.
The Canadiens outshot the Soviets 38-13, but had to settle for a 3-3 tie. The 80s marked the end of Montreal's NHL dominance, but Forum fans were thrilled with a fierce new rivalry, the Battle of Quebec, the Montreal Canadiens and the Quebec Nordiques. Led by goaltender Patrick Waugh, the Canadiens managed 2 more Stanley Cups. In 1993, with the Richard brothers looking on and new NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman sitting in Clarence Campbell's old seat, the Canadiens carried the Stanley Cup for the final time on Forum ice. Worth noting, the Stanley Cup has been presented here 15 times, 12 times to the Canadiens, twice to the Maroons, and only once to the visiting team, the Calgary Flames, back in 1989. Bob, I got to say, the first thing that I noticed coming into the Forum, 2 things. One, it seems as familiar as your own living room. When you used to come in, there was the blue dasher boards on the bottom, the immaculate seats. What other arena would have white seats? But it just seems so familiar, even if you've never been here before.
Well, everybody's obviously got great Forum stories. I remember my first visit to the Forum. It wasn't a visit into the Forum, but I came in a blinding snowstorm to come see my future brother-in-law play in the Midget National Championship in nearby Verdun. Had to pay a pilgrimage visit here, just pushed my nose up against it. It was a few years later I was able to come. I was with the Sioux Star at the time, came and did a story on Craig Hartsburg with the Minnesota North Stars, a playoff game the North Stars won. Of course, it's the Dallas Stars that are going to be in there tonight, and that was a great series that Minnesota went on to win in 7 games against the Montreal Canadiens. But after that, you go from Barry to Bobadon, being drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers, jumping up in excitement and jamming his feet through the seat, not being able to get down to the draft floor, to the Stanley Cup champion Montreal Canadiens most recently, and the riots out on the street, and we're all up hiding in the press room after it's all over, drinking beer and waiting for everybody to go so we can go home safely that night.
Well, there are so many great moments. You saw so many of them there. Let's talk, too, about the Canada Cups. The first Canada Cup back in 1976 was played here. When you're talking about memorable moments in Forum history, you have to talk about that. And you have to talk about the goal by Darryl Sittler that won the Canada Cup. So many moments, so much to look back on. NHL Game Night, live from Montreal, continues in a moment.
Being oneself, styled expressionist, punctuating the ordinary, searching innermost pockets for your ID, detecting the truthfulness necessary to unapologetically say, this is the way I am.
Powered by partnership, driven by performance. The same motto that propels this rowing team to the top is the guiding principle at Dynamic Mutual Funds. Along with your independent financial advisor, you have a dynamic team of dedicated managers, partners, pulling together to achieve the only financial goals that really matter, yours. Dynamic Mutual Funds, your partner for dynamic performance.
Welcome back to NHL Game Night, live from the Forum in Montreal. Most of the fans are already in their seats. They're getting set for the Dallas Stars against the Montreal Canadiens in the Forum finale. By the way, the last time the Dallas Stars won here was 1987. Their general manager, Bob Gainey, was playing for the Montreal Canadiens. So much of the history here has been well chronicled because so many have seen so much and have been around so long to talk to us about it. It wouldn't be right on a show like this unless we had 2 men who have seen so much to talk about it. Here now, Dave Hodge with Red Fisher, reminiscing about the Forum.
Red, I thought I could count on you to be the one person who might complain about leaving this place. Say one more time, this is just a building. I don't believe you mean that.
Well, let me think about it, Dave. It's just a building. I mean, come on. You know, I keep hearing people say, you know, the Forum, the Shrine, the Cathedral, all the games that the Canadians have won in this building because of the building. It's the players in the sweaters. I don't have to tell you that. You know that.
But is it going to feel the same in any other place? As nice as the Molson Center is, you can't take the feelings and transport them, can you?
It's not going... What you can do is take the memories and transport them, and those are the things that count. They're the only things that count.
You wouldn't rather make these guys play for less money and fit the game into the Forum for another 20 or 30 or 40 years?
I don't think so, not at all. I mean, frankly, I'm looking forward to going to the new building and having a whole lot of fun there and a whole lot more memories. That's what it's all about.
But you'd admit that the other new buildings that have replaced all the old and storied ones just haven't clicked, and we can start with the Fleet Center in Boston. Can this be different?
Yeah, because it's Montreal. Montreal is different. Montreal is different from Boston, from Vancouver, any other city that you want to mention. And that's all part of the Montreal Canadiens as well. It's Montreal.
The transition has been done well. For anybody that might wish to stay here, they would realize that not much has been left a chance in getting from here to there, right?
Oh, they've done a terrific job. I mean, you talk about the new building. As we speak, I haven't seen the inside of the building yet. But everybody I've talked with, they say it's a gorgeous place.
They can't open without passing your inspection, can they?
Well, I'll be there on Friday, the day before they open, and I think they'll probably get a passing grade.
Here's the big question. Might the Canadiens' playoff chances be hurt, damaged in the move? Because they don't necessarily, they've never won a game there yet, and every one of these home games is a must for them.
Well, what you're really saying, the new building will be road games for that team. I think there'll be pressure.
So why not wait till the end of the season and then move?
Because there are 10 games in the new building, and that's more money. That's what it is. Absolutely. It's money.
Thank you, Red. A great way to end.
Hey, always a pleasure.
Hey, Bob, you know what? You talk to Red Fisher, you talk to Dick Irvin, you talk to people who work here every day, as we did today, and they pretty much unanimous. Time to move on.
It is time to move on, but it's going to be very difficult for it to leave. Having said that, you can take the Habs out of the Montreal Forum, but you can't take the memories away from all of us who've experienced those and seen those and go back so far. It's time to move on, but it's been a great run.
This place still has the original ice plant. And one thing the Canadiens talk about with their new arena, they love the ice at the new Molson Center, and they think it might make them even a little faster. Coming up next, the final game of the Forum, the Dallas Stars and the Montreal Canadiens on the NHL tonight.
The Forum Farewell is brought to you by Dynamic Mutual Funds, your partner for dynamic performance. And by Molson Canadian.
It's been 2 weeks.
What do you mean?
I mean every day for 2 weeks.
Every day?
Every day.
And it's good?
It's very good.
2 weeks, huh?
Oh, yeah.
What does your wife think?
She thinks it's great. You should try it.
Oh, I'm gonna try it.
Good.
They're talking about Kellogg's All Bran. It's very high in fiber. Make it part of your complete breakfast for 2 weeks and see how you feel about it.
How do you feel about it?
Good.
You feel good.
I knew that I would.
Kellogg's All Bran. Try it for 2 weeks. Love it forever.
You don't have to believe in ghosts, just tradition and pride. But still, there's that sense of tradition smiling down on the Canadiens, especially if you anger the hockey gods. And they were angry. Missing the playoffs 1 year ago, and a dismal start to this season cost Jacques Demers and Serge Savard their jobs. The new regime, rookies both Mario Tremblay and Réjean Houle, were on the hot seat. Greats from the past trying to bring some pride to the present. And it worked. The Forum hockey gods smiled, and Montreal got it going, winning 6 straight. But hockey disaster struck again, and the ghosts were angered once more. Superstar goaltender Patrick Roy upstaged his coach and went right to the top. He got his ticket punched out of Montreal, off to Colorado. But misfortune turned good with a quick trade and a Canadiens team fueled by controversy and winning. The new goaltender, Jocelyn Thibault, was superb. New winger Martin Ruchinski found a Montreal sweater and a hot hand. And veteran Vincent Damphouse's scoring touch, right on back. But tough times have returned. Mario Tremblay's team is clinging precariously to the 8th and final playoff position. So for the last time at St. Catharines and Atwater, the Habs look for some help from the hockey gods. From the fabulous Forum, one last memorable time, Montreal hosts Dallas on an evening to remember, next on TSN. New coach Ken Hitchcock has put some shine back in the Stars. The brightest Mike Modano leads the team with 32 goals. And healthy once again, Andy Moog unbeaten in 6. Star light, star bright. Which team's going to show tonight? 24, the best seat in the house, cost you $2.25. They're going for a little bit more than that tonight. $500 for a good seat from the Scalpers. Enjoy this one. It's Dallas, Montreal coming up. Hello again, everybody. I'm Paul Romanuk. On my right wing, Gary Green. On my left wing, Howie Meeker. Great to have you with us. Howie, you're a guy who's experienced this building at the level of a player, the level of a coach, the level of a fan, a broadcaster. What's your Forum story, buddy?
I've had a dozen of them, but I'll tell you, folks, 21 years of age, back from overseas, invited to the Toronto Maple Leaf camp, made the team. First game in Detroit, we tie. Saturday night, I get my first NHL goal. We win it. Thursday night, go to Montreal. Wednesday night, we hop in the train. Walk into the Mount Royal. Whoop, what a building. 6 o'clock, we jump in the cab with Peter Kennedy on the way down to the building, and all of a sudden, I says, oh boy, stop, back it up. You're in the NHL. This is the National Hockey League. You know who you're going to be playing against tonight? Bill Dernan in goal. And they had Reardon and Bouchard on defense, and Locke and Blake and the famous Rocket Richard. Ha ha! I've died and gone to heaven. Dick Irvin on the bench. I remember thinking, folks, gosh, I hope they don't start the Kennedy line. They did. We tied them. Great game.
Gary, despite the fact we have all the celebrations going on, of course, still a hockey game to be played, and still a game that is very important for both these teams.
Well, the Montreal Canadiens could have been in much better shape coming into tonight's game. They went on that Western road trip. They lost all 3 games. They were terrible. They had a week off, though, so they were able to kind of regroup. They worked on some things like defense that they needed some real work on. Mario Tremblay has improved this team offensively right now, but they've got to work on defense, and it's going to be tough for them tonight because they're facing a Dallas Star team that are on a roll, 7-game unbeaten streak. And one thing pretty classy by Ken Hitchcock, their coach tonight, is that he's going to start their 4 former Canadian players, and also on left wing, Benny Hogue, who grew up in this province. It'll be an interesting fight.
Tell you what, in the entire history of this Dallas and Minnesota franchise, only 9 victories in this building. They'll only have 1 chance and 1 chance only to hit double figures here in the Forum.
All right, thanks very much, Paul. Welcome back outside the Forum. I'm Gordon Miller with Bob McKenzie. Can't wait for what promises to be an entertaining evening. Don't forget, after the game, the closing ceremonies for the Montreal Forum. Lots of tradition tonight, lots of emotion, but Bob, the Canadians can't afford to get too sentimental. They wouldn't want their new arena to be dark in the playoffs.
No, they're in a must-win situation right now because the Boston Bruins just keep on winning. How good is that? The Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens battling for the 8th and final playoff spot, and it's going to be a great battle too because the Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens have 3 more games against each other this year. Doesn't get any better than that.
Let's send you back inside to the building where the ceremonies are about to begin.
Mesdames, Messieurs, pendant près de 10 ans, il a été la voix du Forum. C'est lui qui a fait de l'interprétation des hymnes nationaux l'un des moments forts d'une partie de hockey au Forum. For many years, he was recognized as the official singer of the Canadian national anthem. Today, for the last day at the Forum, let's hear him one more time. Pour l'interprétation du Haut-Canada, une dernière fois, Roger Doucet.
It was said that the first time players from the Soviet Union heard Roger Doucette sing their national anthem, it brought a tear to the eye. And there is the odd moist eye around this building tonight. The first time he sang the national anthem in this building was October of 1970s, the legendary Roger Doucette. And legendary is a word that will be used many times tonight, including again now, as they introduce three legends to drop the puck and get this final game at the Forum underway.
Lors d'une grandiose cérémonie qui aura lieu immédiatement après le match, accueillons pour la dernière mise au jeu d'honneur trois des plus grandes légendes de notre temps. Il a été le joueur par excellence des années 70 chez les Canadiens et l'idole de toute une génération. Through grace and speed, he powered his team to 6 Stanley Cups in the 70s. Le numéro 10, number 10, Guy Lafleur. Pendant près de 2 décennies, il a été le grand leader du Canadien et il a donné au hockey ses grandes lettres de noblesse. He has always been recognized as the captain of all captains, one of the best of all times. Vainqueur de 10 coupes Stanley à titre de joueur et 7 à titre d'administrateur. Le numéro 4, number 4, Jean Béliveau. Celui que plusieurs considèrent comme le plus grand joueur de l'histoire du Canadien. 36 ans après sa retraite, il détient toujours le record pour le plus grand nombre de buts, 544. He is the Canadians' greatest goal scorer and is considered by many as the best player ever in the offensive zone. Son nom restera toujours gravé en lettres d'or aux côtés du mot Forum. Le numéro 9, number 9, Maurice Rocket Richard. Nous demandons maintenant aux représentants des deux équipes en présence, Guy Carbonneau et le capitaine Pierre Turgeon, s'approcher au centre pour la mise au jeu protocolaire du dernier match de l'histoire du Forum de Montréal. Guy Carbonneau and Pierre Turgeon will now proceed to the ceremonial face-off of the final game ever to be played at the Montreal Forum.
Coming up, the opening face-off, Dallas and Montreal.